Think about it. How long has it been since Manchester United fans didn't have a mini heart attack every time the opposition whipped a ball into the box? Ever since Edwin van der Sar hung up his gloves and David de Gea made his frustrating exit, the Red Devils' net has felt like a constant source of anxiety. That is, until Senne Lammens arrived. It feels like the spirit of the towering Dutchman has returned to Old Trafford, disguised as a 23-year-old Belgian. Flashback to the 2008-2009 season. The Red Devils boasted one of the most impenetrable defensive walls in club history. Opponents back then, whether whipping in crosses from the flanks or firing long-range absolute rockets, all crashed into a colossal, unmelting block of ice. Van der Sar's ice-cold composure radiated up the pitch. It allowed Nemanja Vidic and Rio Ferdinand to defend with absolute swagger, even pushing high up the line. Why? Because they knew the man behind them was the ultimate safety net, erasing almost every threat. The verdict on Van der Sar's legacy isn't built on pure nostalgia, it is nailed down by cold, hard facts. The Dutchman went a staggering 11 consecutive minutes without conceding a single goal in the 2008-2009 Premier League. It's an untouchable record that sits perfectly alongside his 4 Premier League titles and a Champions League crown. His sheer presence in the box dropped United's vulnerability from set pieces to the absolute lowest in the league back then. Post Van der Sar, United had the brilliance of David de Gea, who gave us countless memories. But after being pushed out by Erik ten Hag for simply not fitting the system, the club has been desperately scrambling to find a reliable man between the sticks. Andre Onana? Too chaotic, and plagued by individual errors. Altay Bayindir? Severely lacking in spatial awareness. It wasn't until the final hours of last summer's transfer window that the Manchester United board finally secured Senne Lammens from Royal Antwerp. For a bargain price of just £18.1 million, the young Belgian initially had to sit on the bench, absorbing the sheer brutality of English football, before making his debut with a shutout against Sunderland in October. The connection between Lammens and the legendary 2008 squad isn't just a forced media narrative. The Belgian shot stopper admitted as much in a deep-dive interview with Premier League Productions. While his childhood coincided with the peak of David de Gea, a human spider producing spectacular reflex saves on the goal line, Lammens' mind was fixated on that 2008-2009 season. He confessed he doesn't remember many specific highlight reel saves from Van der Sar. But he was utterly obsessed with the legend's stoic, unbreakable presence. Lammens feels a deep kinship with Van der Sar. They are both quiet, unassuming figures who reject the flashiness, preferring to simply be the absolute bedrock behind the defense. Lammens has forged his own philosophy. A goalkeeper doesn't always need to make a dozen acrobatic saves. The golden rule? Do not gift the game to the opposition. He is perfectly happy to step back, out of the spotlight, as long as the net doesn't bulge. And the stats from his rookie season in England prove he's dead right. First, according to journalist John Fisher, Lammens ranks in the top 1% of European goalkeepers for successfully claiming high crosses, directly plugging the fatal flaw of his predecessor. Onana, second, across 22 appearances in all competitions for United, he has conceded just 28 goals, helping the team suffer only 2 defeats when he's wearing the gloves. Third, his commanding presence has secured 5 clean sheets. No flashy dives, rarely taking unnecessary risks. Lammens uses his frame and elite anticipation to dominate his penalty area. Even Edwin van der Sar himself has heaped praise on his successor. Appearing on the overlap with Gary Neville, the Dutch icon, recovering from his recent health scare, offered glowing words. He pointed out how perfectly Lammens is adapting to the extreme physical demands of the Premier League. Van der Sar was particularly struck by Lammens proactively charging off his line to claim aerial balls. The legend praised the youngster's confidence, and more importantly, his restraint, never overcomplicating things just for the cameras. Van der Sar's final verdict carried serious weight. He believes Lammens has the complete skill set to anchor Manchester United for a very long time. Naturally, this avalanche of praise piles invisible pressure onto the 23-year-old. Knowing this, interim manager Michael Carrick stepped in. When bombarded with questions comparing Lammens to his former teammate, Carrick carefully weighed every single word. He acknowledged the obvious similarities, but flat out refused to put Lammens on the same scale, stating that direct comparisons create an unfair burden. Instead of hyping him up, Carrick simply called him a highly reliable safety net. In a position where one mistake is fatal, Lammens brings calm instead of chaos. But all the theory means nothing if it isn't forged in the fire of real competition. And the matchday 27 clash against Everton was the ultimate acid test. Travelling into a hostile cauldron, Man United faced a brutal physical examination. David Moyes' Everton played like a pack of starving wolves. From the opening whistle, the pressure was relentless. A poorly weighted back pass put Lammens in immediate danger. Everton striker Tierno Barry charged down like a runaway freight train. A blocked clearance nearly ricocheted straight into the net, a greeting that smelled like pure gunpowder. Yet, instead of panicking, Lammens calmly reset his position, brushing off the chaotic start with a simple wave of his hand. He knew the next 89 minutes would be an absolute war. Everton deliberately launched deadly, swerving crosses deep into the 6-yard box. But Lammens rose highest through a sea of blue shirts, his gloves throwing decisive punches to clear the danger. 83rd minute, the defender's legs were growing heavy. Michael Keane unleashed an absolute rocket from the edge of the box. Headed straight for the far corner, Lammens stretched to his absolute limit, getting just enough fingertips to push the ball wide of the post. A spectacular save that silenced tens of thousands of home fans. 92nd minute, the storm wasn't over. Tyreek George managed a tricky, low-driven shot. Once again, Lammens dove with perfect timing, smothering the ball and completely extinguishing Everton's hopes of snatching a point. The post-match numbers cemented the masterclass: 4 direct saves, 4 crucial punches, and flawlessly claiming 2 high balls amidst a swarm of Everton players during 10 separate corner kicks. Lammens successfully prevented 0.63 expected goals. It marked the first time since March 2025 that Manchester United managed to keep an away clean sheet in the Premier League. Walking down the tunnel, soaked in sweat, Lammens spoke to Sky Sports with ice-cold composure. He echoed Van der Sar's recent analysis on Monday Night Football, acknowledging Everton's giants at centre-back, but confidently stating that dealing with aerial threats is his biggest strength. He fully embraces Carrick's gritty defensive strategy, winning ugly. He knows that if he just keeps that 0 on the scoreboard, elite forwards up top like Benjamin Sesko will eventually find their moment of magic to win the game. Praising Lammens takes nothing away from Everton. David Moyes had set a brilliant tactical trap, frustrating United for 70 minutes and unleashing the physical dominance of Tierno Barry, and later Beto. Everton played with tremendous heart and strict discipline, but ultimately had to swallow a bitter defeat, simply because the opposition had a goalkeeper who refused to break. This 6-game unbeaten streak under Michael Carrick is keeping Man United alive in the top 4. The road to the Champions League is still loaded with traps, but Senne Lammens will be an irreplaceable piece of that puzzle. Even in his rookie season, he is rapidly emerging as the undeniable heir to the legendary gloves, ready to lock down the Red Devils' goal for years to come.